we cannot honor our emotions in the workplace. So in fact, we come across as cold. So some of that re-examining I
I've
had
heard
to
that,
do
yes.
for myself is that in my attempt to appear professional, I was coming across as cold.
With that being said, I'm ready to go ahead and jump into our first guest, Dr. Tammi Fleming. Hello.
Hello.
How are you tonight?
I am excellent. I'm so excited to be here with you, Dr. Rhonda.
I'm excited to have you.
I'm following all of your work. I'm excited about your new book coming out as I celebrate my new book. So I can't wait you to share about that and the upcoming book festival. So yes, I'm excited.
There's so much to talk about tonight.
Yes, yes.
So I'm gonna get mine out the way. Yes, you heard correctly. Surprise Swipe Right is coming. So the release date is October 28th. But tonight, sometime tonight, one lucky winner is going to get this advanced copy of Surprise Swipe Right, which is a hilarious holiday rom-com. So it's all about a 70-year-old lady who looks pretty good for her age, but she's not dating. And her daughter wants to change that. So she secretly puts her on a dating app so she can try to get her out there and put her back into the dating scene. So a lot of funny things happen when she finds out she's on this dating app. So check out Surprise Swipe Right. And if you'd like a sneak peek, I will also send you a sneak peek of Surprise Swipe Right. But that's all for me because I really want this whole time to be about you. So Dr. Tammi, tell us, who is Dr. Tammi Fleming?
Well, I am, of course, Tammi, Dr. Tammi, Coach T. I am a mother, a wife, an entrepreneur, an executive coach. But I'm also a person who've overcome a lot of detours and have learned from them and want to share what those detours could actually lead to in terms of your destination, how you see them and how you frame detours really can depict what you end up with, right? Because it's all about frame of mind, reframing detours, reframing setbacks, and really making them success. So that's who I am. That's what I'm about right now. It's all about leadership detours because they actually can lead us to a pathway to success.
I love the name Leadership Detour, partly because sometimes our biggest leadership experiences come at a time when we think that something negative is happening, and it winds up being a defining point for our leadership style.
Yeah, what I realized a lot later in life is that detours are actually opportunities to build resilience, to re-examine, to build new skills, and to pivot if you have to. I don't think there's nothing wrong with pivots, but a lot of times we get caught up in our emotions and don't realize that sometimes our destiny is leading us somewhere else. And so that detour that we may be experiencing, and it looks different for all of us, right? So I talk about the detour in the leadership detour in terms of all the pivots I had in my career. But a lot of us, particularly Black women and women of color, we are caretakers for our families. We go through career journeys, we get degrees, and then we are the primary caretaker of the family. Something happens and we have to step out of the workplace, right? We decide that, oh my God, you're talking about rom-com. I just fell in love. I want to get married. That could be a detour. You know, even if it's temporary, these detours actually could be times for us to re-examine our pathways, where we're going in life in terms of our professional careers, and where we're going in terms of our personal careers also.
Amen. And let's talk a little bit about that because some people may know that my dissertation was on the myth of the angry Black woman syndrome and how it affects African American female CEOs or executive leaders in the corporate realm. And often African American women are labeled, sometimes fairly, sometimes unfairly, depending on the situation and the person. But we're labeled as angry or combative, even if we just seem to be the one lone dissenting voice in the room because we don't subscribe to groupthink, or because we call out foolishness when we see it. We may be accused of being angry. Have you seen a lot of that in your research for this book?
Yes, I saw a lot of it in my research and in my lived experience, Dr. Branda. The reality is, in the book, I talk about the way we have held on to this notion of professionalism. And what we describe as professional right now was never defined with us in mind. It was never defined with Black women, with people of color, the way we are expressive, the way we express ourselves. And I think a lot of times we actually do get that label, but some of that is because we're holding on to this notion that we cannot honor our emotions in the workplace. So in fact, we come across as cold. So some of that re-examining I had to do for myself is that in my attempt to appear professional, I was coming across as cold, as non-emotional. And that was not being my authentic self, but I held on so tightly to this notion of what professionalism was. It was really reinforcing what others may have labeled me. And so for me, the detour is a part of that time where I can begin to re-examine and say, why am I holding on to this notion of professionalism? Why am I denying my emotions? Why am I not being my authentic self? And we throw that word around a lot, right? About authenticity, but authenticity at its root is about being truthful. It's about being true to yourself. And that means honoring our emotions and acknowledging them. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to go off on the handle, go off on someone, but it does mean that there's a way for me to calibrate and say, hey, what you just said offended me. It didn't set right. Is that what you meant? And a lot of times we don't ask the questions, we make assumptions. And I wrote this book as a way to say to Black women in particular, while I think there's a lot of learning for everyone in this book, I am unapologetic that this book is about Black women in professional spaces, what it is to be authentically yourself and re-examine those detours, re-examine those terms we've held so closely to professionalism and why we are pegged as the angry Black woman, when in fact another person, whether it's a white person, whether it's a Black man, or whether it's a white man, could display some of the same behaviors. Will not be pegged the same way. They will have totally different descriptors, right?
That is so true. They're usually called go-getters. Yes. They're being told that they're motivated and they're spirited, they're passionate. And those are not the same words that we're given for the same behavior.
Same behavior. Yes.
And I've also, you touched on something that I also included in my dissertation, that sometimes when Black women start to rise in leadership, they're afraid to show their authentic selves because they're afraid of being termed the angry Black woman. So they don't show their authentic selves. They often will agree because they're trying to go along to get along. And so it affects their leadership style. And then when something goes wrong, they're the ones who are to blame because they didn't speak up.
Yeah, there are a couple of ways I approach this in the book. And I think the book is just such an awesome way to really help folks to go through some reflection, right? But the idea that as we rise in the workplace, and sometimes for me, I hit a wall in my career. I hit a wall. I had my PhD. I have all the credentials that you can name. But one of the things we tend to do is we believe that, and we're taught this, the harder you work, you have to work harder. You have to run faster than everyone else. And that is not true.
And it's exhausting to always feel like you have to be the best. I mean, like, you can't make a mistake, because if you make a mistake, it's over.
It is over. And well, we think that, right?
Exactly. We think that.
So one of the reasons we do this, and I go very deep on this in the book, is around imposter syndrome. We really believe that if we keep going, no one is going to notice that I made it through or I'm rising. But the truth is, one of the tenets of imposter syndrome is that there's proof that you're not an imposter. You have all the credentials, you have all the skills, yet something internal keeps telling us we have to do more. We have to run faster. Now, there's nothing wrong with you being ambitious, but that does not make you a leader. So one of the things I talk about in the book, and I think is very important, particularly for professional Black women, is this gap between being a technical expert and being seen as a leader. And there's a real big chasm there, that we are pegged as the professional experts. Everyone comes to us. Everyone calls us. Yes. We're the go-to. We're the closer. We're all of those things. But when it comes time to giving us the title, or to give us the authority or the real positions, we fail. And there is really a difference there. Now, a lot of times you need those skills, right, as an expert to be seen, but they don't make you a leader. And in the book, I dive really deep into that, on the difference between being seen as a technical expert and being seen as a leader.